This is a short video to start you on that journey of completing Task 3. Now Task 3, let's have a look at the unit outline to see what it contains, but it contains two parts and we're at the stage now of looking at Part A. Well, Task 3, it's a website design. In other words, we've got to create a website which will support students in their assessment piece. That's that investigation that we've been looking at. But Part A is slightly different to Part B. Part B is delivering the website, but Part B is the background. What's it going to contain and why? So let's scroll down to the elaboration to see what is required. So Part A is justifying. Justifying what? Well, justifying the bits that are in the website. So why did you choose to include that in the website? Well, we go back to what is in the student investigation. What literacies are in there? What literacy, numeracy and ICT are in there so that we would then put that in the website. So Task A is not about the website. Task A is to identify and detail the literacy, numeracies and ICTs that the students will need to have a knowledge of and have skills with so that they can successfully complete their investigation. So at this point, we've gone through word knowledge and visual knowledge. So let's use those as illustrative examples of what we would require. But you'll do the same for the numeracies and the same for the ICTs. So let's have a look at the student task. So this is the investigation, and I've chosen the Year 3 one, but the Year 10 is similar. So this is what they need to do. In pairs, observe, record and explain how the position of the sun and shadows change throughout the day. So you can imagine they're going to be recording and measuring things. So that says here what we need to do. Choose the time, stand there, make a chalk drawing and take a photo of your shadow and then write a report. Write an explanation why you think this happens. So let's go to where we're up to when we've looked at visual literacies and text literacies, out of our wheel. So is there any visual knowledge and skills that they need to do? Well, yes, they'll need to take photos. So, okay, so that's using a camera. So that's part of a visual skills. Well, it is, but it's more than that. How will I frame my photos? What will be the context of the photos? How can I capture the important elements of the photos? That's visual knowledge. And as we've gone through visual knowledge, you see it has different codes and conventions. Now, it's not going to be too sophisticated for a grade 3 investigation, but they still need to know how do I frame my photo? How do I make sure I'm capturing all the important things? So they need to use some skills there. So if a student's going to be successful, they have to know how to operate the camera, but they also need to have to operate and make sure that they're consistently over the day taking from the same angle, the same center of focus. How can I do it? Is a student in this or is a chalk in this? How do I make this work? How far back will I stand so I get everything in it? Will I have close-ups and ones further away? So all those thinking comes down in the field of visual knowledge. And the second thing they need to do is, where's the photo going to go? It's going to go into a report, and it's going to be an explanation. So they have to understand, how can I write about this in a meaningful way? So what's the report look like? What do I need to do? Well, we've already gone through and realised it's an informational report, and of which maybe the research variety of informational report. So you need to teach them, and they need to have a knowledge of how do I set out a research report, which is part of the informational area genre. So it's got an introduction, it's got different sections, and it finishes with a conclusion. So what are those sections about? How would I explain that? What can I put into a report, for example? So you'll need to go through with your students how to write that research report alongside the concept of shadows and so on. And this is obviously a space unit that they're doing. So for answering the question I posed to you as you've gone through this module is, what do the students need to have capacity in terms of knowledge or skills to enable them to be successful at this task? Well, we've just talked about in using the visual knowledge and the text knowledge as illustrative examples that they'll need to be able to talk about image design and how they take their photo, and also need to understand how reports are structured and written and what's their purpose of them. So that's what we're after. Now, what does that mean then as far as your assessment, what does part A look like? So let's have a look at the exemplar that is on the Moodle site. Well, let's look at the literacy particularly and so on. So we're talking about the literacy, and they've gone and talked about literacy skills, and there's the wheel. So all the literate areas. And interestingly, now, they've unpacked word knowledge. Now, we haven't gone through that, but the word knowledge is about the vocab of that. So here's the word knowledge which is embedded in this task. Here's the text information that's embedded in this task, the visual information that's embedded in a task. So what we see in here is, here's an example through using visual knowledge. You explain what is visual knowledge and what's in the task. And you do the same for numeracy, and you do the same for the ICT. So putting the things together, the three things together, you'll see that the output in part A that you're going to submit is interpreting the student investigation for the embedded literate, numerate and ICT capacities and knowledge and skills that are in there that you need to teach as a teacher so that your students can complete that task successfully. It's written from the perspective of you as a teacher talking to your peers, your colleagues, for example. It's not written to students, it's written to them. So they say, okay, let's have a look at this task. What's involved? And notice that you've actually written an information report. You've got an introduction, you've got sections, you've got images or diagrams, dot points, and you finish with a conclusion. And you reference where you got your information from. So that's what you'll be producing, but hopefully now we're starting to link the knowledge we are learning in class through the modules and the assessment task that you need to complete.